Hi everybody, my name is Andrew. Now you can see me as a very successful, good-looking and smart guy. Yes, my ego is on fire now, but that's not the point. That's how I feel. I'm proud of my accomplishments because it wasn't always like this. But first, I'm going to show you my house. In front of you is a beautiful big house with a small but beautiful lot in the back. This house has big windows, just the way I like it. Bright, spacious rooms, and a kitchen. I live there most of the time alone, but when I have a reception or people from work come over to visit, my parents come over. Their names are Jane and Noah. These two people always have big smiles, perfectly clean and ironed clothes. They greet guests like it's the last time in their lives. They love to make jokes, to compliment them. My mother cooks admirably and has great hair, and my father tap dances, runs a small business and smokes cigars. My parents are perfect when I visit. They know the history of my first steps, birth, kissing and a D in school. Everything. They answer any question without any delay. Guests always leave very satisfied and want to come back. But a couple of hours after the party, I pay each of them an hourly rate, call a cab and shake hands. Why? Because they're not my real parents. They're just actors. Yes, they are experts at their job. They help me out all the time. They come at the first call, but they also charge a lot. Sometimes I even feel like this is reality. At least, I really want it to be. I haven't always lived this way. As I said, these people are just doing their jobs, but I have real parents, my family. Now I'll show you another house. It's my father's house, and it's very different from where we were now. This one is more like a barn. It's all decrepit, smelly, dirty, damp and cold. I've lived like this for 12 years since I was born. My parents are drug addicts. They can't live without dope. They're ready to kill each other for it. And when they get what they want, they don't care about anything. I remember when I was little, sitting and crying that I was hungry, that I was cold. I called for my mother, but she never came. Then I went to their room by myself to ask my mother to feed me. There was trash lying around in their room, too, and syringes and sachets. Mum was lying on the bed, and my father was sitting on the floor. She reacted weakly to me, barely looked up and asked me to get off. "Mum, come on, Mum. What do you want?" "I want to eat. I'm hungry."
"Go find yourself something to eat. You're such a baby."
"But there's nothing there. I looked. The fridge is empty."
"Damn, I'd like to eat something too."
"Yeah, me too. Can we order food?"
"With what money? We just brought ourselves some powder."
"That's right. Sorry, son. No dinner tonight."
"But we haven't had dinner for 3 days. I can't take it anymore. I haven't had breakfast or lunch in 3 days. I can't. I want to eat."
"Get out of here. You're a sourpuss. Who do you think you are? I'm a normal man, and you? Phew at you."
Mum looked at me and started laughing. I wiped his drool off my face and got out of there. That was the last straw of my patience. I went outside and went knocking on the neighbours, asking them to feed me. One family took pity on me. They were very nice. I always looked up to them as a model. Their house was always food, clean, cozy and warm. Everything was just right. Dad and Mum took care of the 3 kids. The kids looked happy and healthy. They had breakfast together, went for walks. That was my dream. I wanted that kind of life too.
"Did something happen to you, baby? Should I call the police or an ambulance?"
No, thanks."
"Are you hurt?"
No, sir." "You must be hungry. Come on in, my boy. I made some really good pasta today. They took me in. They fed me. I stayed with them for a couple of days. I didn't want to tell the details, even though everyone already knew who my folks were and that they were on the needle. I felt sorry for myself, and I didn't really like that feeling, so it was considered a sign of weakness for me. During my time there, my parents didn't even look for me, and I ran away from there. I ran away to nowhere, just to get away. I knew I might not survive, but I didn't care. I was carried to a land I didn't know. Somehow I survived, stealing food, sleeping around, and after 2 months, I just got lucky. I happened to save a boy's life when he ran out into the road to get a ball. His father was a rich man. and he thanked me and took me in. I told him I was an orphan and he took care of me. This man became like a father to me, and when I thought I had a normal life, that's it. Boo. He was gone. Died in an accident at the falls. Got a lot of dirty looks from his wife. She thanked me for saving her life, but she didn't welcome me being there.
Sorry, but I'm afraid you'll have to leave.
Okay.
Okay, just like that?
This isn't my home, ma'am. I'm thankful for all these years. I've lived well, studied and eaten well, and I have no right to stay here forever, especially since he's gone.
I'm sorry, you're so understanding and good. I feel...
It's all right, really. I only thank you. No curses or grudges, honestly.
I just won't let you go.
I lived there for 3 years, and yet she came up and asked me to leave. But she didn't forget my good deed, so she gave me a check for $1 million. I came out of there upset, but not really. Instead of running around spending the money, I decided to invest my knowledge, or rather invest the money in my knowledge. That's what I had learned over the years living in their house. Money should always work, the owner used to say. So I put it to work. I invested somewhere. I brought something back and sold it. 2 years later, I doubled the amount. I had $2 million, and I bought the dream house I showed you at the beginning. I forgot to tell you that I changed my name and surname. And now when I meet new people, I have my legend ready to tell about my childhood and my parents. I found actors easily. They have been working with me for 7 years now. We have a perfectly worked out script and everyone is happy with it. And one day at one of my parties came a homeless man. He started yelling right at the doorstep to call the owner. Only when I got closer, I recognized him as my father. There were people around. I did not want to show any emotion, so my actors have understood the sign and began to distract everyone, while I took him outside.
What do you want? Ah, so you talk to me. You recognize the old man, right?
What do you want?
Why are you so rude? Aren't you glad to see me? What's the matter with you, freak?
What are you talking about? How did you find me?
We're a small state. Word got out a long time ago, but I waited for you to show up.
Where was I supposed to come from?
You left me and your mother and took off. Do you know how worried we were about you?
Don't do this. What do you want? Money?
Of course, I came to see you. I just wanted to see you, and we don't want money, since you're the one who brought it up.
I get it.
What are you talking about?
How much did you spend on me? Let's count. I can count on my fingers how many times I ate in your house.
Your mother is sick, by the way.
And I don't care. You treated me like a piece of shit. Why should I help you? My father wanted to touch my white suit, but I wouldn't let him. I pulled my hand away sharply and touched my father. He fell on the grass and started laughing wildly. And then he raised his head and said that they'd never loved me, that they didn't want me, that I had ruined their lives. These words hurt. It hurt me to hear them, and I wanted to punch him. But then my fake father came out. He knew right away what was going on. He just took me away from there and told my father that he just wasn't worthy of a son like me. It would seem that these words were said by someone who was essentially a stranger to me, but it felt so good and easy. The slightest bit of support is what is sometimes missing. We pretended the incident never happened. I went inside and we continued the evening. I haven't seen him or my mother since. So after that, can you say I'm such a bad son? Or am I missing something? And what would you do if you were me? What would you say to your father? Would you find the strength to run away?
Hello everyone, my name is Cole. I'm from Mexico. We've been living in Spain for many years. I have a large family. Parents, grandmother, and 2 brothers and sisters. I am the eldest child in the family, so I have a lot of responsibility for the younger ones. And I am also the head of the family after my father. In short, I mean that any important decisions in the house are not made without me. I even take part in the discussion of buying a TV in the living room, you know? So, my father had some problems at work. He had to either quit himself or they would have fired him. He was very upset because he supported the whole family. At the next family meeting, I made a rough calculation and offered to go to another city, buy a new house, find a job in the same field where my father worked, and start a new life. My father didn't tell anyone, except me, that he was being forced out of his job because he was now being replaced by a man with a criminal past. His pride didn't allow him to admit it. So we came up with a plan to move out of the city. And since my grandmother, grandfather, and mother especially listened to my opinion, it was decided to move. We chose a city far away from where we lived, sold our house and apartment, With these funds, we bought one big house, as my mother always dreamed, and even had enough money for a car. We were lucky with the purchase of real estate. Just realtors told us that the owner of the apartment has long left and sells up to cheap. It was amazing that we got it, but we were happy. We managed to choose a wonderful quiet area. In front of the house, there was a nice facade. The house had 2 floors, each with a room, a small courtyard on the street where my mother was going to build a summer kitchen. In general, although not the capital, but with amenities. For about a month, we equipped the rooms, the kitchen, made a summer house, and even bought a dog for the younger ones. We had a housewarming party in a small family circle, and then Dad got a job, and things got even better. I found an easy part-time job, and visited the Old People's Club every day to socialize. Thus, each of us chose an activity to our liking. One weekend, my father suggested that we go to his brother's house for the weekend. Everyone agreed, but I decided to stay. After seeing everyone off on a Saturday morning, I took the dog and went for a little walk with him to the store, bought ham, milk, eggs, and bread. There was nothing to eat at home. I left the groceries in the kitchen, went to the bedroom, changed my clothes, and when I came out, there was an empty bag on the table. I didn't know what the hell it was. The dog was in the room with me. Were they thieves? Then why do they need my products? I thought. Just in case, armed with a stun gun, I went through all the rooms with the dog. But everything was clean. Then I ordered a pizza, didn't finish it, left it on the table, and fell asleep. When I woke up a couple of hours later, the remnants were gone. It began to frighten me. I sat in the kitchen all day that day, but there was no one and nothing. At night, I installed my dad's old camera in the kitchen and went to sleep. What I saw the next day was shocking. A man broke into the house and stole my food, and he knew every corner of it. But I couldn't figure out where it went because the exit was on the other side. I dragged the camera to the front door the next night and then saw the man coming out into the backyard. I took the same stun gun with me and found the place where the man got out. Wow, I didn't even know we had a basement on this street. You can't even see it just like that. It was so well camouflaged. To be honest, I was terrified. I called a friend, and Carl arrived 15 minutes later. He brought my mother's pepper spray. I took my father's taser and flashlight, and we carefully opened the door and went downstairs. We did this very slowly, looking at everything around us step by step. When at last we were completely submerged in the basement, my dog beat us to it. She ran down, and we heard screams. Carl and I looked at each other and ran after the dog. A long corridor appeared in front of us, where everything was more or less arranged. Walls, ceiling, electricity. Running a little further, we saw a small room where our dog was standing, growling menacingly at the crowd of people. I shone the flashlight in their faces and saw 2 adults in front of me, a man and a woman, and 2 children. The children were particularly scared. I got the impression that they have been living there for a very long time. The light was dim enough, and the light from the flashlight made them close their eyes and cover their faces. After I chased the dog away, we just stared at each other. This family was so wild. They were dirty, scared. I noticed a pizza box on their table. "Did you steal my food?" I asked them loudly. They were startled by the voice. I repeated the question, but they were silent. Then Carl said he was going to call the police. Wait, the man shouted. "Yes, it would be me. I stole your food for the family. Please forgive me," he added. The longer we stood there and stared at each other, the more questions popped into my head. I told them all to go upstairs to talk. These people were not aggressive, but rather scared. They got up and went out into the courtyard. I stared at them, Carl holding the taser in plain sight just in case. Then the man started talking fast and fast. "Mister, please don't hurt my family. It's my fault for stealing the food. We used to always eat food from the trash, but this time I couldn't resist the goodies you bought. The fact is that no one has lived in this house for a long time," he said. Then I learned from our long conversation that this used to be their home. Once upon a time, they took out a loan that they could not pay, and as a deposit, they left a house that they later lost. But this was not enough, and they still owed money to some friends. I built this basement a long time ago, in case of war or something. No one knew about it. When we realized that we had no money, no home, nothing, the only solution was to hide, he said. So they were stuck there for many years, and for how long, they do not remember. Carl and I were shocked, of course. I didn't blame them, because anything can happen, but it was impossible to live like this. At that moment, my family returned. They were happy after the trip. When they saw I was sitting with Carl on a summer holiday and strange homeless people were sitting with us, my mother's eyes were full of indignation. I fed and watered the family, gave them clean clothes, and offered them a bath. After they cleaned up, my parents talked to them. Oddly enough, but they are not angry. For some reason, we took their word for it and wanted to help. My mother called a special service where you could live for free for a while. We gave them some money and left a phone number. They called us the next day when the police found them. We also gave evidence and said that we have no complaints. The father promised to help find a job for that man, but in the meantime, this family also needs psychological support. After all, a woman with children did not go out at all, and who knows how long. From that moment on, we helped them as much as we could. Of course, not immediately, but over time, they came to their senses and began to lead a normal lifestyle.